All right. How on earth did the Norwegians save the world? This is it. Let's see the thing.
This is Vemork, a factory laying deep within the mountains of Nazi-occupied Norway. At first glance, it appears to be an
Okay, I have to admit though, this, like, I'll never understand how Norwegians have sex, because have you heard that accent? The Norwegian accent is amazing, right? How do Norwegians get laid?
an ordinary industrial plant, but looks can be deceiving, because this is no ordinary factory.
This is so well made,
Hidden
guys.
in its
I
basement
love it.
lies the world's only large-scale production of heavy water, the final.
Now, guys, how much do you know about heavy water? Like, I know it's important to make nuclear weapons, and I know the formula for regular water. That's H2O, right? I know when it's heavy water, it's D2O. So what can we learn from that? Well, we can learn that whenever you give something the D, it becomes better. Koshir just laughs at the accent. We ruined the seriousness of the video. No, come on. It's a good video. It's a good video. Ignore my stupid comments. I'm a stupid man with small ideas. This, like, look at this. This is great. I want to follow this channel. So immediately we know when you give something the D, it becomes better. I'm guessing it has something to do with the boiling point and how they make the thermal nuclear reactor fission. I don't, if someone knows anything about this, like, laugh at me or correct me, but laugh at me. That's cool. But I have no idea what the D is, though. But y'all know what the D is.
Ingredient needed for Hitler to complete his atomic bomb. A small team of Allied soldiers is sent on a mission.
Arne Kjeldrup, Jens Arne Paulsson, Knut Haugland og Klaus Hellberg.
To destroy the facility, a mission that will most likely cost them their lives. The Germans have stationed 300 armed guards and covered the
You think they were stationed exactly like that?
surrounding areas with landmines. The factory itself is built on a steep mountainside, with only a heavily guarded bridge offering access. In every sense, the factory is the ultimate fortress.
Yeah, if you've ever been to the mountains in wintertime, you know that's its own defense. Exactly like that. I strongly hope they didn't do it like that. But yeah, like that's its own defense, you know. Like if you don't easily get used to conditions like that. Like maybe some people are used to it and they'll go, "Oh, that's so easy," you know. But yeah, you fucking grew up in Norway. Of course it's easy.
This is the story of what Winston Churchill called the most important sabotage raid of the Second World War.
How we saved the world, man.
That did not go as planned. This is the story of Operation Gunnerside, a mission to save the world.
You know what? This is going to take me a long time to watch. I really want to know what the production cost of a video like this is. Because I know hiring artists isn't cheap.
A mission to save the world.
Wow. Hollywood? Watch out, man. Narration by Torgeir. If you were ever offended by my jokes, Torgeir, if you should ever see this, I apologize. I am actually Norwegian myself. And I kind of like the accent, I have to admit. Just letting you know. You're still a good person. Operation Gunnerside.
April 1940, Germany invades Norway.
That's
Facing
funny.
little resistance, the country is fully occupied within 2 months. One of the
My grandfather was actually, it's limited how much I can say because it's limited how much I know. And I know that he had historically a very prominent role in the what do you call it when someone's he was a fucking spy, okay, for Norway. We don't really know anything about what was going on, but we're assuming he was very active when it came to recruiting people to the resistance. That's what we do know. Later in life, he was never. That's the bit I can't tell.
reasons for the occupation was the establishment of the Atlantic Wall, a vast network of coastal defenses built by Nazi Germany along the western edge of Europe. Its purpose was to prevent an Allied invasion from Britain across the English Channel. The Germans also seized the opportunity to exploit Norway's natural resources,
They're gonna take our fish and our timber? You bastards! One of us learned from my past, don't ally with Nazis. yeah, like, y'all heard about the time I went on a date with a Nazi, right? I think going out on a date with a Nazi was a little too much. Like, I didn't know it at the time, if y'all hadn't heard the story. But yeah, we're definitely not repeating that. We're not dating them, we're certainly not inviting them to our home.
including timber and fish. But the country hides another resource that could decide the fate of the war. Back
What did that say? I
that
got a
could
clue
decide
now.
the fate
Diphtherium also? Is that the D in heavy water instead of the H?
of the war. Back in Berlin, German physicist Werner Heisenberg was studying nuclear fission. He believed it was
Good old
possible to
Heisenberg,
create
huh?
a weapon powerful enough to obliterate an entire city.
It's such a damn shame that we actually made that weapon, though. Like this is why the West is going after Iran now, to make sure they don't have nukes. You know, and let's face it, they're a regime. They're more like a death cult than a regime, you know. And they're showing us right now what they're willing to do. Like, how many countries have they attacked? Like 14? Yeah. And what were they expecting to gain? Like, a little shit country like that starting a war with 14 other countries. No, they obviously don't care. What if they actually got their hands on some nukes?
City the size of London. The idea captivated the Wehrmacht, and the promise was a bomb no larger than a pineapple. In a nuclear fission, heavy water can serve as a moderator. A moderator slows neutrons down, which is crucial for sustaining a chain reaction. But why didn't the Germans just use graphite as a moderator, like the Americans did? Well, they simply didn't know that they had to use so-called pure graphite. Less than a month after the invasion of Norway,
That's a little oopsie, huh? They had plenty of access to it. They could have just made it from that, but like, oh no, we're going to Norway instead and take their heavy water.
the Germans
Thank God they
increased the
didn't
heavy
know,
water
yeah.
production.
I know I'm pausing every second now. I'm sorry, guys. I just think this is so well made. I'm gonna lay off the pause button for a little bit.
Significantly. Back in Britain, this development caused alarm. They feared the Nazis were growing increasingly interest in heavy water, possibly to build an atomic bomb. The production had to be stopped.
What
At
else
first,
do you
the plan was to
do?
bomb the factory from the air, but the
What else do you do with heavy water? Like, can anyone tell me what purpose heavy water serves besides making nukes and stabilizing a reactor?
operation was deemed too risky. The plant was difficult to locate at night in the mountains, and any bombing raid would likely result in significant civilian casualties in the nearby Norwegian town. The Germans had also strung 3 thick cables across the valley, designed to tear apart low-flying aircrafts.
Oh, that
Even
is
if a
cold.
bomber managed a direct hit, it might not be enough. The heavy water facilities was buried in the basement, protected by a massive concrete slab. It was eventually decided that the best chance of success lay in a glider-borne commando raid. Landing in a rugged terrain around the plant would be nearly impossible, but near the Møsvatn Dam, a suitable landing site was identified.
Yeah, landing a plane in the mountains. I don't know. I don't think you can find any suitable place to land a plane in the mountain. But like it's better than nothing, right? I mean, they had to get there somehow. Well, thank God they didn't know. There is a war museum in Rjukan. Haven't been there yet, but Corsair want to go. Yeah, I'd love to go there too, man. Like that's actually interesting to take a look at and see. Like history is exciting, man. It's important to learn from the past to make sure you don't make the same mistakes again, right? A lot of other uses besides nuclear weapon, but that place is by that place is okay. I had no idea. I mean, I just know like what it is ish. But did you know this though? You can actually drink heavy water. I mean, you can't do it a lot, but like you can have a glass. I got disappointed when I visited. I'd really love to drink a glass of heavy water just to say that I've done it. How do you guys feel about that?
From there, the saboteurs would begin their journey towards Vemork, but the geography around the Vemork plant made any ground assault incredibly difficult. The factory was placed on the side of a steep mined valley. The only viable route was via a narrow suspension bridge,
you're not
a bridge guarded around the clock. In secret, the Brits started Operation Freshman, a company of 34 saboteurs, carried by 2 wooden Horsa gliders.
34. How many soldiers did they have stationed there? Was it 300? I mean, it's definitely not Leonidas' 300. Hold on. I'm gonna say goodbye. Put him down now. Putting him down. But it's just a saboteur mission, right? In, out. Try not to get noticed. But, dude, if you get noticed, you're 30 dudes up against 300, you are in the shit.
By 2 Halifax planes.
You don't need me to tell you that, though.
Before Operation Freshman can be executed, a group of hand-picked Norwegian soldiers are sent to Norway to prepare the landing site and escort the saboteurs to the target. This was
I love how they're all smoking.
Operation Grouse. All Grouse members were locals and had experience.
Look at this, man. These are the people. These are the guys. Arne Kjellstrup, Jens Anton Paulsson, Klaus Heiberg, Knut Haugland. What an honorable bunch.
Experience with the mountains surrounding the factory. Some of them even had experience in getting captured by the Gestapo, later to escape. The training began in early October and was designed to be relentless, not only to ensure that those who took part were at peak of their physical and mental fitness, but also to eliminate any men unable to cope with the difficult Norwegian winter terrain.
Skilled.
The sappers were familiarized with the design of the plant and received training on the most efficient way to plant explosives.
But it's like looking at this, is this CG as well, or is this filmed from his desk where he made some cool props?
To cause maximum damage. 18th of October 1942, the Grouse team parachuted onto the Hardangervidda plateau.
Yeah.
But bad weather forced them to jump much farther west than planned.
No.
Carrying heavy gear, they had to ski over 80 kilometers through mountainous terrain. Eventually they found shelter in a small cabin near the planned landing site and waited for reinforcements to arrive. 1 month later, Operation Freshman was launched from Scotland. But before takeoff, each soldier was issued a cyanide capsule to bite on in case of...
I was sure that was just the stuff of legends. I thought that only happened in movies. Like, biting down on cyanide pills?
Capture. Back in Norway, the Grouse team received word that the gliders had reached the coastline. The landing site was ready. The commandos would arrive any moment. But minutes turned into hours, and no one came. The mission was launched during severe winter conditions. Thick cloud cover and violent turbulence caused the first glider team to crash into a mountain at Hestadfjell, destroying both the bomber and the glider. For the second team, the tow rope snapped mid-flight. The glider crashed land in Fyllesdal, while the bomber turned back to Scotland.
How much bad luck are you supposed to have? And then those 4 dudes are stuck in a cabin, trying to find stuff to eat there during the winter, not the easiest thing in the world. Knut Hauklid famously sank the DF Hydro in Tynsjø. DF Hydro I've heard about, but I've not heard that story though. The war story that sticks the most to me is in Drøbak-Sundet, where we sank their flagship with 1 grenade. Hit the ammo department? Was that it? Is that what we did? I think we hit the ammo, and that sort of just, I guess caused a chain reaction. How did Knut Haugli do it? Blücher, yeah, their flagship. Famously sank the Blücher. God, I love that, man. How embarrassing. Here's something that all Nazi regimes have in common. They lose their flagships early on. Hitler did it. Putin did it too. You know, his flagship didn't last very long before it got blown up. I don't quite remember how. Drone strike, probably? Probably. Let's see the thing.
Crashes claimed the lives of 27 men. The 14 survivors were hunted down by the Gestapo, later to be eliminated.
Holy
Operation
shit.
Freshman was a complete disaster.
Everyone.
Due to the secrecy surrounding the mission, very little information was provided to the families of the soldiers at the time, other than that they were missing. Back on the Hardangervidda plateau, the grouse team is still waiting. It is minus 30 degrees, and they are almost out of food. They are alone, and no one is coming. Although the Allied soldiers...
Such a bad situation to be in, though. And, like, what kind of information do they have? What kind of radio communication do they have with the outside world at that point? Is this because, like, they're not coming in their radio silent, right? I imagine they don't, at least.
Soldiers believed they had destroyed all sensitive material in the gliders. One map from the second glider was overlooked. When the Germans recovered it, they were able to identify the Vemork plant as the intended target. They immediately reinforced the factory's defenses.
Busted.
It became clear that a new team would be needed to carry out the mission in coordination.
Look how well this... Look how good this stuff is! I'm so impressed! Dude, I hope this guy has like 9 million subscribers at least.
With the surviving grouse team. The new unit was given the codename Gunnerside.
There we go, Gunnerside.
These men were all elite Norwegian paratroopers, resistance fighters who had fled occupied Norway to be recruited and trained by the British Special Operation Executives. Part of their training focused on operating independently without resupply. They learned how to scavenge food, fix weapons, navigate harsh terrain, and survive extreme cold.
They can survive any zombie scenario there is, in other words.
Members of the new team were well aware of the failure of the previous attempt, and that the Germans were preparing for a new raid. The grouse team would once again guide the paratroopers to the factory, but because of the extensive training and the planning required to prepare the new team, the grouse operatives had to survive 3 brutal months in the mountains.
Snøstormene herjer jevnlig i området og virvler snøen inn gjennom sprekkene i den vesle hytta.
You want me to narrate that? You know what? I'm gonna narrate that. Hold on.
Mountains.
Snøstormene herjer
Snowstorms
jevnlig i
rage
området og
regularly in the
virvler
area,
snøen inn gjennom
whirling
sprekkene i
snow
den
into
vesle
the
hytta.
cracks of the little cabin.
Vi er tomme for mat,
We're out of
og
food,
kreftene
and our
siver
strength
sakte
is
ut av
slowly
oss.
draining away.
Alle blir rammet av
Everyone is
sykdom og
struck by
feber,
sickness
og da
and
julen
fever.
nærmer seg, har
And
vi
as
ennå
Christmas
ikke felt
approaches,
et eneste
we have
vilt.
still not managed
Den
to bring down
eneste
a single
næringen
dare.
som holder liv i
The
kroppene
only
våre,
nourishment keeping
er
our bodies
mose
alive
og
is
rester av
moss
stearinlys.
and the remnants of candle wax.
There-
Holy shit! Candle wax soup, guys! They have to how long did they live off this? Define live. They survived, I guess.
Their days are short. They rise at daybreak, but by 4 in the afternoon it's already dark, leaving them with nothing to do but to crawl back into bed, conserving what little energy they have. But then their luck changes. On December 23rd, Paulson sets out for his usual hunting round when he spots a herd of reindeer. Adrenaline surging, he drops to his knees and takes aim. He fires. The herd scatters. He fires again, but none of the animals fall.
No,
Then,
come on.
following the tracks in the snow, he sees blood. Further ahead, he finds a downed reindeer. He drinks a cup of its warm blood and carries 20 kilos of meat back to the cabin.
Imagine that, having lived off candle wax for so long, and then this fucker with blood all over his face busts open the door, and he goes, "There you go, boys. Looks like meat's back on the menu." That is so hardcore, and it must be such a friggin' relief, man. That's just, dude. They must have been so happy.
From that day forward, they experience a series of successful hunts, and they finally receive the message: Gunnerside is on its way. On February 17th, 1943, the Gunnerside team parachuted down near Lake Skrytten. They are completely lost, but manage to find a small hunting cabin. Inside,
Wiser from the previous attempts, they no longer land. They parachuted. I think that's called learning from your mistakes, man. Candle wax and moss is the soul of the Norwegian cuisine today. Yeah, who doesn't have candle wax and moss soup, right? I know I do.
they came across a map. One point on the map is worn out by fingerprints, suggesting that previous visitors had likely been pointing to the location of the cabin that they were at. 10 days later, the two teams are reunited and the mission can finally begin.
Nice. But how
Rouse
many
had
are they
discovered
now?
A path that avoids the heavily guarded suspension bridge. It's a risky route involving a steep descent down the icy gorge, but it might just work. Under cover of darkness, the saboteurs climb down the ravine, crawl across the frozen river, and scale the vertical cliff on the other side. They
That's
reach the back of
actually
the plant, cut
I
through
mean, not that I'm a military pro, but is going down into a ravine, scaling a frozen river. The frozen river bit seems easy. What seems hard to me is getting up unnoticed. I'm about to make minced meat with wax soup and moss bread. Yeah, and have some dandelions on it. Some dandelion spice. That sounds lovely, my guy. I had hunter stew today, made with oh, it's just amazing. I'll have it tomorrow as well.
the perimeter fences and enter the courtyard. To reach the factory's entrance, they must pass a German barracks where enemy soldiers are gathered just meters away. They
Holy
press
shit.
themselves against the wall, sliding past the windows in silence.
I'm sure all of us have played stealth games, where you had to do this in the game. And you had to do this a few times. You had to load a couple of times because you fucked up. They don't get the quick save in this one, man. And if one mistake sneaking past that, and the operation's over again. Sier det bare på norsk. Juve var sett på av tyskerne som utilgjengelige, og derfor ikke beskyttet like bra som brua og andre innganger inn til fabrikken. Yeah, no, I get that, but it's obvious that it's the bridge that you're gonna have to protect, right? And it's obvious to the saboteurs that they have to find an option. My heart rate goes up doing this in games. Exactly. Mine too, man. Mine too. I just get a stroke behind those crates. So yeah, I can imagine a lot of guys would, man. But this is it. It's like if you panic and turn home, you're dead. Go forward, you might make it. They might write you up in the history books even.
Preparing for the worst. They reach the main factory door. It is locked, but this does not come as a surprise. They know of a ventilation shaft nearby that leads directly to the basement. Inside, the corridors are empty. They move silently. The entire layout is memorized. A German voice suddenly echoes outside. They freeze, but the footsteps fade into the distance.
Because they must have run a simulation. I'll say simulation. They must have had a replica of this and then practiced again and again and again. They must know this factory by heart now.
At last, they reach the heavy water electrolysis chambers, where only a steel door separates them from their objective. In one swift motion, they breach the door. To their surprise, they encounter no resistance, just a Norwegian caretaker who is more than willing to cooperate.
Some dude, yeah.
They quickly place explosives on the vital equipment. The charges are perfectly measured, powerful enough to destroy the machinery, but quiet enough to not alert the entire valley. Just before setting the fuse, the caretaker intervenes. He asks politely if they could help him find his glasses, because it is impossible to find new ones during the war. They oblige. Once the glasses are found, they light the fuse. As a final gesture, they leave behind a Thompson submachine gun, a clear sign that this was a British-led operation to protect.
Oh, I love that! Leaving behind a little bit calling card telling you who fucked you over. I love it! For fuck's sake, was fishing for a remote for 10 minutes, found it under the sofa. I usually find it in like, let's see, either the toilet, in the refrigerator. If I'm lucky, it's in one of the cracks in the couch or something like that. But no, I never find it where it's supposed to be. I've Tronstu planned the mission in Gunnerside, also built Vemork. That's right, they mentioned that earlier. I believe. But that is epic, though. Yeah, they've had plenty of time to practice for this specific mission. And training goes a long way, obviously.
Protect the local Norwegians from retaliation. The raid is a success. Over 500 kilograms of heavy water are destroyed, along with key electrolysis equipment. Although 3,000 German troops are dispatched to hunt them down, the saboteurs all escape without a single casualty.
Nice!
The Germans were later able to rebuild the plant and resume
deuterium. That sounds like some sort of steel, some sort of epic armor in any given space sim, right? Deuterium armor. So the D is the D2O, right? The improvements from the H?
making heavy water. In November 1943, the Allies launched a massive bombing raid involving 160 American B-17 bombers, hoping to cripple the facility. However, the raid caused only limited damage to the plant itself due to its thick concrete floors, and tragically, 21 Norwegian civilians living nearby were killed. Subsequent air raids also failed to halt production entirely. But by then, the damage had already been done. The German...
That's why you do things with precision, like they did the first time, you know? They in the mountains like that, trying to aim a bomb, like in this, it's easy now, I guess. But in the 40s, whole different tech.
Nuclear program had been delayed beyond recovery. They would never have a working bomb before the end of the war in Europe. How much time the raids on Vemork actually cost the Nazis is still debated, but the saboteurs may have brought the Allies just enough time to prevent London from turning into a nuclear wasteland, An achievement a little more significant than a YouTuber sitting in his bedroom only having to deal with his comment section. I get a lot of questions on how I make my videos and what kind of courses I've been taking. From my engineering degree, I found out early that lectures never really did me any good, and that my way of learning relied on being practical and solve problems by myself. That's why I really like Brilliant. Instead of just reading or listening, you actually learn by doing, solving problems
stuff,
step by
man.
step. A method
Check
actually
out
proven to
Brilliant
be
if you
6
want to learn
times
something.
more effective. With Brilliant, you get access to thousands of engaging
I've
lessons
actually been looking
in
into that
topics
myself.
like math, programming, data analysis, and AI. Each course starts you out with the basics and then gradually builds you up to more complex challenges.
Maybe you can learn how to make heavy water, right? So I can finally have a drink of heavy water. Wouldn't that just be the most metal drink there is? Heavy water and vodka or something?
I never really understood how AI actually works.